Titanic is perhaps one of the most famous liners to be commissioned. Construction began on the ship in 1909, and this ship was to change the industry due to it being the biggest, fastest and most luxurious liner yet. The building of the ship was tough, but after just 3 years the Titanic was ready to set sail on her maiden voyage. Due to the name it made for itself, people from everywhere wanted to experience this incredible ship. Passengers included millionaires, silent movie stars and school teachers. While on its 5th day the Titanic was moving across the Atlantic. There had been reports from other liners there was ice, and Captain Edward Smith plotted a new course. However, on the 14th of April 1912 the sea was calm and motionless. The temperature though was dropping towards freezing, and this made it tough to see ice in the water. At 11:40 PM the alarm was sounded with the words "iceberg right ahead." This warning however was too late, and the Titanic was on a collision course with an iceberg. In fact, it struck the ship a matter of seconds later. After this event the Titanic would eventually spend the rest of its life at the bottom of the North Atlantic Ocean. Edward Smith was the captain of the Titanic. He started his career working on boats as a teenager. This early experience is what made him want a career at sea. In 1875, he earned a master's certificate which meant he was able to serve as captain. In 1912 he was on board the Titanic that was going from Southampton, England to New York City. It's recently been reported that a mirror that belonged to Captain Smith is going on sale. It's thought that the mirror will go for over $12,000. This unique item was left at the captain's home in Stoke-on-Trent in England. This mirror was collected by a maid because she was owed wages. According to certain stories, the mirror is said to be haunted. One story is said that people who look into the mirror have seen Edward Smith himself. Some paranormal enthusiasts have suggested that after the event of the Titanic he was unable to leave this plane of existence, and that his soul still wanders this planet and uses the mirror as a vessel. It's said the best time to see the captain is on the anniversary of the Titanic. On the 2nd of June 2018, a witness was able to snap a picture of this disc-shaped UFO. Now, as mentioned before, it's important to remember that an unidentified flying object is any object flying in the sky which cannot be identified by the person who sees it. After investigations, most UFOs can be explained. Usually they're attributed to astronomical causes, aircrafts, weather balloons or animals such as birds. The eyewitness said the following about the object. "I was taking a trip in Hamadan, Iran, and I was taking photos of nature and my wife. I did not see anything at the time because I was looking for animals, and I didn't know what I'd captured in my photo. When I was reviewing the photos, I discovered a photo with this object. I could see this object in one of my photos, and when I zoomed in on the picture I saw something that was disc-shaped. The object didn't look like a bird or an airplane to me. I can't think of any other objects that were in the area. After I found the object in the photo, I felt a feeling of happiness. However, part of me was wondering what this object could have been. I personally believe there is intelligent life outside of our planet. I've never seen anything like this before. I remember exactly where I took this photo." Over the years, there have been many UFO sightings in Iran. The 1976 UFO incident was a radar and visual sighting of an unidentified flying object over Tehran, the capital of Iran, during the early morning hours of the 19th of September 1976. During the incident, 2 F-4 Phantom II jet interceptors supposedly lost instrumentation and communication as they approached, only to have them restored upon withdrawal. One of the aircraft also supposedly suffered temporary weapon systems failure while preparing to open fire. The incident was recorded in a 4-page US Defense Intelligence Agency report. It was distributed to at least the White House, Secretary of State, Joint Chiefs of Staff, National Security Agency and the Central Intelligence Agency. This remains one of the most well-documented military encounters with a UFO in history, and various senior Iranian military officers directly involved in the events have gone on public record, stating their belief that the object was not of terrestrial origin. The object was seen by multiple witnesses from different locations, and visual sightings were confirmed by radar. So what do you guys make of this photo? As mentioned, it was taken in Iran, and the eyewitness doesn't seem to know what it could be. Let me know in the comments what you think they captured. This household experienced something strange late one night. This person said the following about the encounter. Here in Canada, I have in-laws way up north in a place called the Northwest Territories. They're native and have a lot of weird tales from their community. They have family spread all over the north, lots of whom are in Alberta as well, and this will play into the story. On this occasion, it was a typical winter night. This happened around 10 years ago at my in-laws' grandparents' house. Due to it being this time of year, it was very dark and way too cold to be outside. It was at least minus 40 degrees Celsius. Everyone was hanging out. People were watching TV and the kids were playing. A typical family evening. However, this was interrupted by a knocking at the door. The knocking was hard and persistent. This was immediately strange as they live way outside of any real towns with kilometers between neighbors, and unannounced guests are almost unheard of. The grandparents are visibly concerned and tell everyone not to open the door. The knocking became harder and the guests began to speak, loudly stating that they were an auntie and that she'd been invited over. The kids wanted to answer the door to see their auntie, and apparently it sounded exactly like her. So their grandpa had to block the kids from going near the door, and tell them to get away from the door and windows as well. The knocking became pounding and the guests started yelling and screaming to be let in. Eventually it stopped and the guest was gone. The next morning there was no tracks outside in the snow, and no signs a vehicle had been in the area. This auntie lived in Alberta and had no plans to visit. Nothing happened after that, but it's something that does happen in these areas. Believe it or not, Wendigo is a major piece of folklore in that family as well, and they refuse to talk about it for fear of drawing one in. The Wendigo is a creature that some believe resembles a zombie. In some forms the Wendigo is the size of a human, while in others it can be 15 feet tall. The earliest description of the Wendigo was that of similar appearance to a skeleton-like creature. They're believed to have a thin body with grey skin. The creature is said to be an ugly beast. Some have even suggested it's a relative of Bigfoot. Others who've encountered them say they're more like a werewolf. This theory has been put forward several times. People who think they're seeing a wolf or even a werewolf are actually encountering this creature. When people started to mysteriously disappear in the 20th century, many began questioning where they could have gone. It was then thought the Wendigo was preying on the weak. Rough translation of Wendigo is the evil spirit that devours mankind. This translation is related to the version of the Wendigo that claims he has the powers to curse humans by possessing them. Over the last few years, there have been a wave of werewolf sightings in Brazil. The werewolf is a mythological animal and the subject of many stories throughout the world. Werewolves are, according to some legend, people who morph into powerful wolves. Others are a mutant combination of human and wolf. Recently, locals in Brazil have been witnessing alleged werewolves. This photograph made the rounds, which allegedly showed a werewolf caught on a CCTV camera. These mysterious creatures have also been reported to attack people. 2 attacks by a wolfman or a dogman were reported in Brazil in 2008 and 2009. A woman told police she was attacked on January the 28th, 2009. This was by a big dog that stood on its hind legs and walked like a man. In 2008, police received numerous reports of a half-man, half-wolf that was stealing sheep and breaking into houses. Another witness said the following about their encounter. It was 11 PM at night and I was walking back to my house. I live in a small village that's surrounded by woodland. In the daytime it's a nice place to be, but at night it can be creepy. While I was walking home I could hear these noises. The only way I can describe them is they sounded like grunts. After this kept happening, I decided to turn around and look for what was making the noises. To my shock, I saw a 7-foot beast staring at me. This creature looked exactly like a werewolf. After locking eyes with it and freezing, I managed to get the courage to run. I ran so fast back to my house that I never looked back once. When I got back to my house safely, I was so relieved. This encounter did affect me though. I didn't leave my house for days and I never ventured out after dark. I truly believe these creatures are lurking in the darkness. Another witness said the following about their encounter. While I was out in my garden, I could hear noises at my gate. After looking through one of the cracks, I could see a large hairy animal. At first I thought it might have been a large stray dog, but when it stood up on its hind legs, I knew this was the creature that people was talking about. It kept scratching at the gate and making loud noises. I immediately ran into my house. The next day there were scratch marks up my gate. I haven't seen the creature since. There are many unexplained creatures that lurk out there. For hundreds of years, people have been encountering what they describe as witches. For the last few years, there have been reports coming from New Delhi about an alleged witch. Most supposed witches were usually old women and were very poor. Any who are unfortunate enough to be crone-like, snaggletooth and sunken cheeked were assumed to be witches. This witch did match these descriptions, and many have allegedly encountered her. Some describe her as looking very old and wearing a large cloak, while others said she was small and gave off a bad odour. These sightings have caused panic in the local area, and hundreds of homes even painted palm prints to warn off the creature. One person said the following about their encounter. While with a few friends, we encountered this creature. We was walking through a secluded area when we saw what appeared to be a woman around 200 meters from us. As we approached, however, we could tell this wasn't an ordinary woman. Her eyes were a piercing yellow colour. She looked really old and had a menacing grin. She attempted to speak to us and tried to get us to follow her, but we ran off. After telling other people of our encounter, they too said they'd seen her. People in my area haven't been this scared in a while, and people are doing everything to avoid her. People who spoke to the woman have said she tries to get you to follow her to an unknown location. It's believed that no one has gone with her, or if they did, they haven't lived to tell the tale. Stories like this have been around for years. A police officer in Mexico had a similar encounter. The police officer was on patrol in his car at around 3:15 in the morning. When he turned into a street, he noticed that something wasn't quite right. He said that he saw a huge black object fall from a tree, but instead of hitting the ground, it seemed to levitate. It then slowly touched down to the ground and began to turn around to face him. The police officer couldn't believe his eyes. He turned on the 4 beams of his patrol car to investigate. After shining the lights towards the creature, this only seemed to anger it. The entity then covered its face. The police officer said that he could see the being quite clearly. He described it as a woman with 2 big black eyes without eyelids, and very dark skin. He said the female figure was dressed all in black with a cloak like a witch. After observing him for a few seconds, the creature suddenly burst into a violent rage, and leaped upon the hood of the patrol car and attempted to attack the officer. The officer tried to reverse the car and call for backup. Luckily, he managed to escape. After the ridicule he received, he decided to take a lie detector test. The test showed he was telling the truth. He also passed other exams which proved he was sane. So what do you guys make of these stories? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.